Greetings, Sholar. Well, some things have taken place that I want to share with you, and I'm hoping at least most of you can participate for just a very short period of time on this particular transfer that's going to take place this Friday, which is, what is the date this Friday? Let me see. It is Friday the 30th of March, and it's going to be at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. But you don't really have to be connected at that very time if it doesn't work for you. If it does, that would be nice. And what it is, okay, Michael Henry Dunn contacted me telling me that a lady, we're going to call Sylvia, that's her name, her first name, who has been on my list and follows my work to some extent. Through that, she contacted him, and she was hoping that the Templars could help her in this particular mission that she was on. And she's in Germany, and there is a mountain that's not exactly close to her, but one that she's been working with, the energetics of it, for some time. And it's kind of a famous mountain, and when you hear about it, it sort of sounds like the whole area is sort of like San Luis Valley in the regard to, you know, phenomena and portals and UFOs and mysterious happenings. So here's a link to some about it. It's called High Strangeness, Weird Vanishings, and a Cursed Mountain. Well, it's not cursed. They're just making a big deal out of it for this article. However, the name of the mountain, we're coming to it. I can never pronounce it. This is the area where the Sound of Music was made, the movie. And it is, the name of it is, it's in Salzburg, Austria, looming over the Salzburg Basin. So the name of the mountain is Untersberg, Untersberg, which translates to under mountain, like under the mountain. And it's sort of like a table mountain there. As you can see, we can't quite see the table effect there, but it does have one. And many mysterious happenings and things go on there. So this is Sylvia's story. For 2 years now, she's been what she calls awakened. And I don't know exactly how she originally connected to this, but she did. And there's some missing pieces here. We don't know a whole lot about it because Sylvia only spoke to both of us briefly. She spoke to Michael first, and then Michael contacted me, and she and I and Michael had a conversation. This all on Zoom. Sylvia doesn't, she's speaking English as a second language, and it's a little difficult for her, so we didn't quite get all the picture. But she feels that she's working with an energy of the Grail that's inside Untersberg, and that she has been asked by the guardians of this to transfer, to open it up, and she can bring this energy out and transfer it elsewhere. But she didn't know where it was to be transferred to, and she felt guided that the Templars would know. Right now, we could say that Michael and I. And so we took it to Thoth, first of all, to see if it was even genuine. And then I received from Thoth that it was recognized. Yes, what she was working with was genuine. She may not completely understand it herself, and she had some ideas about it and, whatever, but the true energy was real. And what Thoth was calling it, to give us some kind of definition of it, is the logos of the Grail. Now, logos is not logo. Logos is the word. like the divine word, the sound, the harmonic. And according to him, it is being contained within a dweller crystal skull in that mountain. And that dweller crystal skull he's referring to as the Templar Skull. Now, I first wrote about the Templar Skull in the 1980s. It was just mentioned, and that was the name that was given. And now it appears again as being the container for this Logos Grail energy within Utensberg. And so Thoth concurred that she was being guided to bring it forward, and that we here in Crestone, Michael and I, Bill and Edie, the Priory group that builds the Arc of Ascension that is working with the synergy work that Bill has done for many, many years, and they're a very close group, and they know their stuff and how to work with this. And so it's in two phases. The first phase was yesterday when Michael and I attended via Zoom with the Synergy group in Bill and Edie's house. And they went through a synergy process that, in a sense, transferred the energy, but it really has not completed it. It's placed it in an astral or etheric spectrum. So they've moved it through that energy portal, and you could say, in a way, it's already been transferred. Transferred where? Well, Thoth said that it was to be transferred to Mount Blanca. Now, Mount Blanca is the mountain that rises up by the sand dunes. And it's a very mysterious mountain. It has its own phenomena. It's sacred to the Hopi and the Native Americans. And of course, the sand dunes is what Thoth calls was created by a comet from the future. That's the way he puts it. And they say there that, I mean, this geologically speaking, it's impossible for the sand dunes to exist there, because when they bored down underneath it, they found a forest. So the sand dunes had been piled upon the forest. Well, the forest, they could carbon date, and it was only 11,000 years ago. It's geologically impossible for that much sand, and sand that does not match the sand in the valley. It's a completely different type of sand. It's high silicon, very, very high. To be here in this valley is just impossible from geologic perspective. Now, I didn't know that when I received in the 1990s that it was created from by a comet from the future, whatever that means, but obviously from some other dimension. And I didn't know that geologically it's impossible for it to have been created in a normal way. And the park rangers won't tell you this. They make up stuff. And they said to Chris O'Brien, who studied this for many years and used to live here, and we knew him when he lived here before, that that's not true. And he said, well, why do you tell them then? He said, we have to tell them something. That's what they say, because they don't know how it was created. So Mount Blanca sits right there. And, well, there's a lot more, but I'm trying to condense it here for all of you. The idea is that this Friday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, Sylvia will be atop that mountain. She's been there many times before, not maybe atop, but on the mountain. And it will be 10 p.m. for her. And it's going to be cold, but she's going to be there to do what she feels she has to do to bring that energy forward, to call it forth. And then it will be transferred into Mount Blanca. Essentially, as I said, the Synergy group has already, quote unquote, transferred it, but it has not been synergized to the current timeline in that transfer until we complete this process with her at 2 p.m. on Friday. And Bill and Edie and myself and Michael Dunn are planning to be in the Carmelite Monastery chapel at that time. And it won't take long. We're going to spend maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes to complete this process as Sylvia's on the mountain. If we can't get into the Carmelite Monastery chapel at that time, because it may be in use, we will come here to my house, because Thoth is saying if we can't be there, let's be at the Christus Sephara altar, because obviously the Christus Sephara elixir is a sort of a universal consciousness spectrum thing of the blood of Christ. This is the Sangre de Cristo mountain range, blood of Christ. What are we transferring from Utenberg to Mount Blanca? The Sangreal, the blood of Christ. It's all in different forms, but it's all the same thing. And when we do this transfer, and it's actually established, not only the logos, but the skull itself will be translated here. And when that is established, then the sacred on is going to start syncing up with the logos. Now, the sacred on is not the same, what do I want to say, type of thing, that a type of form of thing that the logos is. The logos is another realm of experience, but they will synchronize. The on is more, has a different program. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. A completely different, not completely different, but a different program. Its program has its own history and its own dimension to it. And it's the most powerful, I feel, from what Thoth has told me, the most powerful object of a translated nature that is on this planet currently, or connected to this planet currently. The Grail Logos is not, but that doesn't mean it's not powerful, but it needs to be connected to the sacred on to receive, so that it can open up and do what it's going to do. It's like the logos, Grail Logos, is a program, and the sacred on is a divine computer. I mean, that's kind of the way I'm trying to phrase it so we can understand what it really is. Because when we start talking about all these different things, you know, they're so beyond normal human comprehension that it's very difficult to put them into a category. But that's the best I can do with it. So the logos is a program, the on is a computer. Of course, this all falls short too, but it's the best I can come up with. So once it is synchronized with the on, other things happen. And I don't know what they are yet, but I do feel, as Sylvia does, that this transfer needs to be made. She stressed it needed to be made into the United States, into this program here, and that it was going to help this country and the world. And that is an agreement with what Thoth is presenting to me. So, Sholar, if you could please take some time, 15, 30 minutes out of your day on Friday, and hopefully, if you could do it around, you know, at 2 p.m., maybe you can't. Maybe you have to do it that early morning, late night, whatever. If you could just, you know, get in touch with it. And if Friday's totally out of the question, well, then find another day, if you could, this week before Friday, which is Thursday, either today or tomorrow. And if you can just spend some time visualizing the transfer. Now, when the Synergy group worked with it, they found that it had to go through different points to get here. And in fact, the first one that saw this was Edie Cooper. She saw very distinctly how it was making a path. It was connecting to these different points on the planet as it worked its way around, and most specifically through points in the United States to come here. And then others joined in, and they saw different things in regard to that. And so it's confirmed, indeed, that was true. So you might find yourself moving through a current of different points on the planet, but in a, moving toward the U.S., not skipping all around the planet, but moving from Austria from Utenberg, Austria to Crestone, Colorado, and to Mount Blanca. So there might be different places you see it moving together, or maybe not. Maybe that's already been done, and you're just seeing some sort of an instant transfer. But your energy involved in this is important. I don't know why, but it seems to be. Thoth was requesting that you tune into this and become involved in the process, or at least as many of you as possible. Of course, Michael Agape was there and part of the group, and of course Bill and Edie and Michael and I. But whomever can additionally contribute, this would be welcomed. Now, there's one other thing I want to show you here. In the article that I just created, and I haven't even announced it to the bigger list yet, but I put it on Facebook. Where is it? Down here, Quantum Computer and Starship, Computers and Starship. This article I did, it's not an article, it's a video I made just the day before that or something. I can't even remember, right in the same sequencing. And I was talking about this files that I found from my work way back in the 1970s. Well, in there was this picture. You can see it's dated 8/17/73. This is I don't know what PTE stands for, I've forgotten now, but an ultra-terrestrial base inside this particular mountain. And when I first looked at it, and I say on the video, I got all excited thinking it was Crest in the Stone. But, I looked at it different angles, and it just, after I made the video and after I got excited about it, it didn't quite seem right, but I left it be. And then after all of this came forth and Thoth spoke about Mount Blanca, he said, go back and look at your picture. So I did. And then I found this picture of Mount Blanca, and you can see the top of it. How perfectly, not perfectly, but pretty darn close, relates to this. So that is another interesting thing. And when you're reading this other article, if you click on here, you can get information on the importance of Mount Blanca and all of this to the Native Americans. But I just wanted to show you this. There is one other thing that I saw as we were working with it with the Synergy group, and so showed me that there's a connection to this, to the Utenberg cavern and the mission of the Logos of the Grail, connected to Mithras. And Mithras was an ancient version of Jesus, they say. Well, what it really is, according to Thoth, is an energy of the Christos that was creating a platform or an energy consciousness for the arrival of Yeshua as Jesus. It's the same thing as Horus did. And, people think that, oh, well, Jesus didn't really exist. See, it's a myth, because Mithras was Jesus and Horus was Jesus, and these are all myths, and they're perpetuated through time. And I can understand how people would come to that conclusion, but no, according to Thoth, that's not true at all. They aren't myths. They are perpetuations of the energy, the building of the energy from Horus to Mithras, and then when Yeshua, Jesus, was born physically and brought this energy to completion in that pattern. So we know, of course, so if it seems very right that Mithras would have a connection, probably Horus too, but in this case, in the mountain of Utenberg, it is Mithras, to the development of this logos, or the sequestering of it, for it to generate and to grow and to perpetuate. And now it's being so-called birthed in a way and brought into Mount Lanka. What happens next, I don't know. But I do know it has to be synchronized with the sacred awe, and that is next. And then there are some other things that are very likely going to take place that will bring some other, what Thoth is calling treasures, to these mountains here. None of them will, well, I don't want to use the word equal, but I'm going to say equal the sacred awe. That is, again, the shining light computer of the whole gizmatch. But these are components that are being placed in other mountains in this Grail Cup Valley that will synchronize with the sacred awe and become active through that vehicle, through that Merkaba. And as Michael Dunn pointed out to me, and I'd forgotten this at the moment when I was sharing this with him, you know, his whole Iona trip, which is still on the books, he's going to make this trip. Thoth had said that when he was on Iona, if you'll recall, he would be bringing something back. It may not even be physical, but something back to Crestone, to the valley, to all of this. Well, obviously, this is another treasure. What it will be at this point, we don't know. So right now, we're focusing on the treasure of the Logos of the Grail. And this has come up so suddenly, I have not had any time or even ability to receive any more information on all of this than I have at this point. But we really don't need any more to do what we need to do at this time. So I'm inviting you to join us, and Thoth is inviting you to join us to accomplish this on Friday, this coming Friday, at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. I hope I wasn't too disjointed in sharing this. It's early in the morning, and I'm kind of scattered these last few days, so more than usual, shall I say. And this is not an easy thing to describe at this point. So I hope I was clear enough, and thank you for listening, and I hope some of you will be able to participate.